Okay, so today we're going to be doing lecture 16. That's going to be the equations review. We're going to have two assignments this week. One is going to be a classwork. The other one is going to be a test. So we'll get to that on Wednesday. But today I just wanted to try some of the problems on the classwork with you. And for every single question, you're going to be given an equation. Now there's going to be 3 steps that we're going to take for every single question. So let me write that out. There's going to be 3 things that we're going to be doing for each question. We're going to be solving for a variable. So I'll put solve for a variable. The second thing we're going to do is once we've solved for that variable, we're going to write a solution set. Solution set. It'll have braces like this, and there'll be numbers on the inside. So we'll take a look at that a little bit later. And then the third step for all of these questions is we're going to check our work. We're going to check our work. All right, let's look at number 1. Okay, so for number 1, we're given x divided by 6 is equal to 5. So the first thing I want to do with this is I want to solve for the variable. I want to get x by itself. So how can I get x by itself on the left side? Here's what I'm going to do. Since I'm dividing by 6 on the left side, then I'm going to do the opposite of dividing. And the opposite of dividing is going to be multiplying, right? So I'm going to multiply both sides by 6. So I'm going to have a 6 in parentheses right here. Over here, I'm going to have x divided by 6 in parentheses. And then over here, I'm going to have that 5, but I also have to multiply that by 6. So what I'm doing is, on both sides, I'm multiplying by 6. So I can get rid of the 6 in the denominator. So what that does is it's going to have 6 divided by 6 on the left side. Those 6's are going to cancel out. And then once those 6's cancel out, I'm only going to be left with an x on the left side. And then on the right side, we got 5 times 6, and that's going to give us 30. So I get x is equal to 30. That's going to be my answer. So inside my solution set, I'm going to have the number 30, since that's what I figured out x is going to be. So I put that 30 inside of the solution set, and then I close it up. And now the last thing that I have to do is step 3. It's going to be to check my work. So when we check our work, we're always going to start off with the original equation that they gave us. We're going to start off with that original equation. And all we're going to do is we're going to let x be 30 and see what happens. And we're going to do that on the next slide. Okay, so for number 1, our original equation was x divided by 6 is equal to 5. And now what I want to do is I want to check x equals 30 to see if it works. So I'm going to replace my x with a 30. When I do that, I get 30 over 6 is equal to 5. 30 divided by 6 is 5. So on the left side, I'm going to replace that with a 5. And I get 5 is equal to 5. And that is my true statement. Once you get your true statement at the end, you're done. You know that 30 is going to be the answer. Now, only the numbers that work are going to be placed inside your solution set. So going back to the previous slide, Once we figured out that x is 30, then that's the number that I'm going to put inside of my solution set. And then when you check your work, it's pretty easy because all you're doing is you're starting off with that original equation that x divided by 6 is equal to 5, and I'm just letting x be 30. And then I simplify the left side until I get to that true statement, 5 is equal to 5. Okay? Let's try number 2. Okay, so for number 2, I'm given n minus 11 is equal to negative 24. N minus 11 is equal to negative 24. So what I want to do first is I want to get the variable by itself. I want to solve for the variable n. Now to get n by itself, I'm going to have to get rid of this minus 11. And how do I do that? I do the opposite of subtraction, which is going to be addition. So for this one, I'm adding 11 to both sides. So when I do that, the negative 11 and the positive 11 are going to cancel out. So notice they cancel. And then on the other side, I'm going to have negative 24 plus 11. And when you do that, that's going to give you negative 13. So negative 13 is going to be my answer. I place that inside of the solution set. And then I close it up. Okay. So now on the right side, I'm going to check my work. On the left side, I'm going to check it. So when I check, I always start off with my original equation. N minus 11 is equal to negative 24. Now I start off with my original, and I'm going to let n be the answer that I just found. I'm going to let the variable be negative 13. So all I'm doing is I'm replacing the variable with a negative 13 and just seeing what happens. But I'm keeping everything else the same. So the minus 11 is going to stay the same. And the negative 24 is going to stay the same. All I need to simplify is the left side right now. And negative 13 minus 11, it's going to give me negative 24. So I get negative 24 is equal to negative 24. And that's my true statement. Now, if I got a false statement, then I would have to go back and see what I did wrong. But since you got a true statement, you know that negative 13 is going to work for this one. So for all 10 of these, we're doing 3 things. We're solving for the variable, we're writing down our solution set, and at the very end, we're checking our work to make sure that it's right. Okay. Let's do some of the odd questions. Let's do number 3 next. Number 3. Okay, so for number 3, we are given 2v minus 8 is equal to negative 16. What I want to do is I want to get the variable v by itself. So that means I need to get rid of 2 things. I need to get rid of the negative 8, I'm going to do that first. And then after that, I need to get rid of the 2 out in front. I'll do that last. But to get rid of a -8, I have to do the opposite of a minus. I have to do a +8 on both sides. So I'm going to add 8 to both sides. When I do that, the -8 and the +8 are going to cancel each other out. So I can cross those out. And I'm only left with a 2v on the left side. But on the right side, what do I have? I have -16 plus 8. And that's going to give you a -8 when you add those two numbers. Okay, so now to get v by itself, I only need to do one more thing, and that is to divide both sides by 2. The reason why I'm dividing is because I need to do the opposite of multiplying. And as you know, that's dividing. So that 2 times v, I'm going to divide both sides by 2. So that way, the 2's will cancel out on the left side. And that'll just leave me with the variable v. And then on the right side, I have -8 divided by 2. That should give you -4. So -4 is going to be my answer. I'm going to put that inside of the solution set. Okay, now on the right side of the screen, I'm going to check my answer. I always start off with my original question when I check my answer. So what was the original? That was 2v minus 8 is equal to -16. What I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the v with a -4 and see what happens. But everything else stays the same. So the 2 out in front is going to stay the same, the -8 is going to stay the same, and then the -16 is going to stay the same. 2 times -4 is going to give you -8. So I get -8 minus 8, which is going to give me -16. So notice I get that true statement at the end. And that means that -4 is going to work here. So that is called a two-step equation. Now let's take a look at one that I like to call a three-step equation. We're going to be doing number 5 next. All right, so for number 5, we're given 3b plus 4 plus 5b is equal to -20. Notice that this time I have a 3b and a 5b on the left side. I'm going to underline those in yellow because they are like terms. They end in the same variable. So that means I can put those two terms together. What would 3b plus 5b be? That would be 8b, right? And then I still have the plus 4 and the -20. So all I did was I combined like terms, and now I have a two-step equation I can solve. Now to get the variable b by itself, I'm going to have to get rid of two things. I need to get rid of the plus 4, but I also need to get rid of the 8. Let's get rid of the plus 4 first. I would subtract 4 from both sides. That'll get rid of the plus 4. Because if you'll notice on the left side, I have a positive 4 minus a 4. That's going to give you 0. So they cancel each other out. And the only thing I'm left with is the 8b on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, I have negative 20 minus 4, and that's going to give you negative 24 once you put those two numbers together. Okay, so the last thing I need to do is get rid of that 8. And I can do that by dividing both sides by 8. When I do that, the 8's are going to cancel out. And I'm left with b is equal to negative 3. So negative 3 is going to be inside my solution set. So let's go ahead and check our answer on the next slide. All right, so my original was 3b plus 4 plus 5b is equal to negative 20. And what was my solution? It was negative 3. So I want to make sure that negative 3 is going to work for this problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace every b that I see with a negative 3. So the negative 3 is going to go right here. And it's also going to go right here beside the 5. And everything else stays the same. All right, so there's a couple of things that I can do on the left side. I can multiply the 3 by negative 3 to get negative 9. I could also multiply 5 by negative 3 to get negative 15. Negative 9 plus 4, if I put those two together, I'll get negative 5. Still got the plus negative 15 and the negative 20. And then negative 5 plus negative 15 is going to give you negative 20. So you should get a true statement at the end. And that's how I know it's right. Okay. So let's try number 7. All right, for number 7, we can do this a couple of ways. We're given 8 times 3k plus 5 is equal to 112. So the first thing that I notice is I have a number on the outside, the 8. What I can do with that is I can multiply it by everything on the inside. So I'm going to multiply the 8 by the 3k, but I'm also going to multiply the 8 by the 5. So what happens when I do that? Well, what's 8 times 3k? That would just give you 24k. I bring down the plus sign. Next, I'm going to do 8 times 5, which is going to give me 40. So multiplying 8 by everything on the inside is going to give you 24k plus 40. That's called the distributive property. So if you ever have a number on the outside, you can do the distributive property. What that's going to give you is a two-step equation that you can solve. So now to get k by itself, I need to get rid of two things. I need to get rid of the positive 40 and the 24 that's out in front. But let's get rid of the positive 40 first. The way I would do that is I would subtract 40 from both sides. That'll get rid of the plus 40. So these are going to cancel out. I'm only left with the 24k on the left side. But on the right side, I'm going to have 72. Because that's 112 minus 40. All right, so the last thing I need to do is get rid of that 24. Since it's being multiplied by k, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to divide both sides by 24. So I'm dividing both sides by 24. That's going to cause these 24s to cancel out. Because essentially, I have 24 on top and a 24 on the bottom. When you divide 24 by 24, that's going to give you a 1. So those 24s are going to cancel out, just leaving the variable. On the other side, I have 72 divided by 24. That's going to give you the 3. And I put that inside of the solution set. That's going to be our answer for that one, positive 3. The last thing that I want to do is check my answer. And I always start off with my original equation when I do that. So we're going to do that on the next slide. All right, for number 7, we have 8 times 3k plus 5. I'm starting off with the original that they gave me. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to let k be 3 and see what happens. So I'm going to replace k with a 3. I have parentheses inside of parentheses. So make sure the 3 is closed up, and then the whole thing is closed up too. All right, so what's the first thing I can do? I notice that I have parentheses, so I'm going to work inside those first. I have 3 times 3. That's going to give me a 9. So really, I have 9 plus 5 on the inside. That's going to give me 14. And then 8 times 14 is going to give me 112. And that's going to give me my true statement. That's how I know that k equals 3 is going to be a solution for this equation. All right, the last one we're going to do together is number 9. So let's try that one together. So 9 is going to be the toughest one that they give me. And that's because not only does it have the distributive property, but it also has variables on both sides. So we'll take a look at that. I've got 2x plus 3. And on the inside right here, I'm going to have 3x plus 2. On the other side of the equal sign, I'm going to have a negative x minus 6. So what's the first thing I could do with this? I noticed that I have a 3 on the outside and a 3x plus 2 on the inside. So I can do the distributive property. In other words, I'm going to take this 3 and I'm going to multiply it by everything on the inside, the 3x and the 2. So the 2x is going to stay the same, but I have to multiply everything by 3 on the inside. So I'm going to get 3 times 3x. That's going to give me 9x. And then I have 3 times 2, which is 6. And everything stays the same on the right side. We haven't done anything with that yet. Okay, so I noticed that I have like terms on the left side. I'll underline them so you can know what they are. They are the 2x and the 9x. Notice how they both end with an x. That means that they're like terms, and I can add them together. 2x plus 9x is going to give you 11x. But everything else is going to stay the same about the problem. So now I need to get all the x terms to one side, and I need to get all the regular numbers on the other side. I'm basically trying to do this. I'm trying to get all the x terms on the left side and all the regular numbers on the right side. So how can I get rid of a negative 1x? I'm going to add x to both sides. So when I do that, the negative x and the positive x are going to cancel each other out, only leaving me with a negative 6. All right, so what's on the left side? I have 11x plus 1x. That's going to give me 12x. Now, the reason why it's 12x is because you can just kind of assume that we have a 1 out in front of the x right here, since there's no other number. And now I have a two-step equation, right? I need to find some way to get rid of the plus 6, and then I need to find some way to get rid of the 12 right here. So doing that, I need to subtract 6 from both sides. That'll get rid of the plus 6. When I do that, the 6's are going to cancel out, leaving me with a 12x. The negative 6 is going to show up on the right side. If I add those two numbers together, I'm going to get negative 12. So now to get rid of the 12 in front of the x, I'm going to divide both sides by 12. Divide both sides by 12. So when I divide both sides by 12, I get negative 12 divided by positive 12, and that's going to give me a negative 1. So over here, I get x equals negative 1. That's going to be my answer. Negative 1. So I put that inside of the solution set because I know that's going to be the solution. And then the last thing I need to do is I need to check my work. Now, when I check, I always start off with my original. So on the next slide, I'm going to start off with my original question. So I've still got 2x plus 3 times 3x plus 2 is equal to negative x minus 6. So I'm starting off with my original. And everywhere I see an x, I'm going to replace it with a negative 1. So I replace this x with a negative 1, and then there's an x over here on the inside. I need to replace that with a negative 1. On the other side, I'm going to have a negative 1 minus 6. The reason why I have a double negative is because I've still got this minus out in the front. That's going to stay there. So it's actually going to be a minus 1, which we know to be a positive 1. So let's simplify the left side and the right side a little bit. I've got 2 times negative 1. That's going to give me negative 2. On the inside right here, I'm going to have 3 times negative 1. That's going to give me a negative 3. And on the other side, I'm going to have a positive 1 minus 6. So let's see if these two sides are the same thing. Now, inside the parentheses, I have negative 3 plus 2 right here. If I add those two numbers together, I'm going to get a negative 1. On the other side, I have 1 minus 6. That's going to give me negative 5. Three times negative 1 is going to give me negative 3. So on the left side, I have negative 2 plus negative 3, and that's going to give me the negative 5. So it all works out. That's going to be my true statement. So that's number 9. That's how you check your work. All right, that's my equations review. So if you have any questions about today's lecture or any questions about the classwork, go ahead and drop those down into the chat box. I'll get to you very soon. But that's all I'm going to cover today. Remember, you have 2 assignments that are going to be due on Sunday. You've got your equations review. You can do that today. And then on Wednesday, we're going to be going over a few questions on the equation test. So we'll do that on Wednesday. Okay? And that's it. Class dismissed. If you have any questions, you can hang out a little bit afterwards, and I'll get to you very soon. And have a great day. I'll see you on Wednesday.